Howdy y'all, and welcome to this week's video on the Hildene Manor, also known as the Lincoln family home because it was built as a summer home by Robert Todd Lincoln, the only child of Abraham and Mary Todd Lincoln who survived to maturity. Robert first came to Manchester in 1864 when he visited the Equinox Hotel, later returning 40 years later to purchase the 392-acre parcel of land and build what he later called his ancestral home. The house was built in 1905 and Robert and his wife, formerly Mary Eunice Harlan, lived there that same year. Robert's granddaughter, Peggy Beckwith, passed away in 1975, leaving Hildene to a local church wishing that the estate would be maintained as a memorial to the Lincoln family. When the church tried to sell the estate to developers, community members intervened, forming the Friends of Hildene LLC, in which still maintains the property. The house is called Hildene as it combines two Old English words, hill, meaning hill, and Dean, meaning a valley with a stream. Originally, Robert was a Harvard-educated lawyer who, when the Civil War kicked off, commissioned in the U.S. Army as a captain and served as assistant adjutant to General Ulysses S. Grant. After the war, he continued to practice law, growing a successful Chicago law practice. Robert Lincoln also served as a Secretary of War from 1881 to 1885, as well as being the U.S. Ambassador to the UK from 1889 to 1893. He later became president of the Pullman Car Company in 1897 and served as the railcar manufacturer's general counsel. You will see a full tour of one of the only 6 surviving Pullman cars later in this video. Also in this video is a look inside the Lincoln exhibit on the upper floors of the estate, which holds an original cabinet draft of the Emancipation Proclamation written on July 22, 1862 by then Secretary of the Treasury Salmon P. Chase. Additionally, you'll see one of the only 2 remaining stovepipe hats that Abraham Lincoln wore, a mask the former president had cast 2 years prior to his assassination, as well as the mirror the former president made himself presentable in front of before leaving for Ford's Theater. The Lincoln family home. Robert hired the Boston architectural firm Shepley, Rutan, and Coolidge to design Hildene. Boston builder Ira G. Hersey constructed the 24-room Georgian Revival mansion with electricity, telephone service, hot air heating, and an annunciator system that allowed the Lincolns to call their staff wherever they might be in the house. Hersey also built a carriage barn and outbuildings. The first building visitors go to when they enter Hildene used to be the carriage house, the Welcome Center. Frederick Todd, an apprentice of renowned landscape designer Frederick Law Olmsted, sculptured the Hildene grounds and cultivated garden beds. He designed the cutting and kitchen gardens for flowers, vegetables, and herbs, and added 300 varieties of trees and flowering bushes to the property. He also landscaped a reflecting pond where the Lincoln grandchildren sailed pond boats. Now, the landscape looks a lot different than how the Lincolns would have seen it back in the early 1900s. Back then, Vermont was largely clear-cut for sheep, and you can still see a glimmer of this in the house. In one of the first rooms you look at, the wallpaper is a mountainous, hilly field with just a few trees. Mary Lincoln designed it this way to encapsulate how the landscape looked even decades later when now there's trees. Coming up in the video, you'll hear the organ. You'll be able to hear as we walk around the house that you can hear the organ from almost everywhere. The organ could play either from paper rolls of music that no longer are used because they are too fragile, or by hand. A modern electronic system has been put in place so that the organ can play some of the music that would have been played back in the day without the need of the paper rolls. The organ works by sending electrical signals underneath the floor to the bellows in the basement and then sending that air up through the 2 floors to more than 1,000 pipes up on either end of the stairwell. This is the oldest residential pipe organ in America, still playing in the original place where it was installed, says Stephen Morse. To give some perspective, the Lincoln spent $63,500 to build Hildene in 1905, approximately $1.5 million in today's currency. The organ itself cost $11,500, or about $280,000 adjusted for inflation. It was the single most expensive item bought for the home, according to Brian Knight. As I talked about earlier in the start of the video, on the upper floors of the estate is a museum dedicated to Abraham Lincoln and his work. It holds an original cabinet draft of the Emancipation Proclamation written on July 22nd of 1862 by then Secretary of the Treasury Salmon P. Chase, as well as the mirror that the former president made himself presentable in front of before leaving for Ford's Theater, as well as a mask the former president had cast 2 years prior to his assassination. Additionally, there is one of only 2 remaining stovepipe hats that Abraham Lincoln wore. There is more in this dedicated museum, although at the end of the day, the manor still has to run a business, and some of these things are just way too cool to see over a screen. At the end of the day, this video is just an overview and should not replace a visit to the Hildene Manor. Seeing these physical pieces of history is extraordinary.
In 1888 as the Ortega. The Ortega was used by President McKinley until his assassination in 1901. After the assassination, it was taken back to the factory, totally remodeled, totally upgraded, put back in service in 1903 as the Sunbeam to what you see today. Now, the Sunbeam is a lease car. You could not buy a ticket to this car. You had to lease the whole car.
Wow.
So it was the equivalent of a private jet of today.
Sure.
So, being that said, it was for the wealthy. Since it was for the wealthy, they put every amenity into this rail car you could put in a rail car in 1903. This car has hot and cold running water, 3 bathrooms, electricity, and central heat. Unfortunately, the heater's not working now. So it was for the very wealthy. You could not buy a ticket to this car. You had to lease the whole car. And in addition to all the other amenities, you got the service of 2 porters.
Sure.
One was your gourmet chef, and the other was your butler.
Wow.
This is the best view of the kitchen. They would feed 18 people 3 meals a day from that kitchen.
Holy cow.
Yep.
Seems pretty cramped for all that food.
Yep.
Man.
Now, you've been up to the house already?
Yes, sir.
So you know the relationship between Mr. Pullman and Mr. Lincoln, right?
Yep.
Pullman, Chicago. Chicago was a company town. Pullman owned everything. Houses, stores, even owned the churches and the schools. Everything was going great until the stock market crash of 1893. Stock market crashed of 1893. The railroads cut back their orders for rail cars. Pullman cut his employees' salary by 25%. However, he did not cut their rents or what they bought at the company store. So they formed their union went on strike. At that time, the U.S. mail was carried by rail. So it impacted mail delivery. So President Cleveland sends in the U.S. Army to put the strike down.
Wow.
At the Army arrives, the union members started burning rail cars. They burned 600 wooden rail cars.
Holy cow.
At the end of the strike, Pullman was required to divest himself of all the property except the factory, and something you all enjoy in September. The Labor Day holiday was a result of the strike.
No kidding.
Yep. Now I'm going to cover this when I cover the porters. This is the class of people who leased this car.
Sure.
Andrew Carnegie.
Really?
That's handy Andy. More famous in the day and almost as rich as he was this young lady. Her name was Adelina Patti. She was a world-class opera singer, the premier soprano of her day. She made $5,000 per performance. Today's money, that's $173,000 per performance. Taylor Swift, eat your heart out. Anyway, so, but there was a kicker. She was Italian. She would not take cash in payment. They had to pay her in gold. She would only accept gold as her payment.
Wow.
At the end of her career, she had been married 3 times, and she passed away in England as the Baroness Craig Y. Noy. She had no children. She left all her money to her niece and nephew. You may know her niece. Her name was Patti LuPone, the actress. That's her niece.
No kidding. This doesn't happen to be. Is this one of the train cars manufactured by
Yes,
Mr. Lincoln?
absolutely.
No kidding.
Yeah, he made 600 of them. They were about 600. No, I'm sorry, there were 200 of these made.
Really?
Yeah, 200 wooden rail cars.
Wow.
They were very. The reason they got rid of them was because actually most of them were burned because they were wood, but
Sure.
they didn't. The maintenance on them was incredible.
Yeah.
Because the trains in those days would go 45 miles an hour. So you're traveling 45 miles an hour.
A wood box.
The wood would all the paint would be basically scraped off after about 6 months.
Holy cow. Just insane upkeep.
The Porters. 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation frees the slaves. 1865, the end of the Civil War. All these men are unemployed. Pullman sees a golden opportunity and hires as many as he can because they're all trained as servants. Was he a nice man? No. They were the lowest paid employees of the Pullman Company, made approximately $30 a month, and were required to work 100 hours a week.
Holy
Before slavery ended. But anyway, that was the best job a black man could get at the time because they got to travel, and the rich people who would give them, who leased these cars would give them tips.
Sure.
They took those tips, educated their children, bought houses. It was basically the start of the black middle class.
Sure.
The poster we skipped, 1925, the Pullman Company gets greedy. They wanted to garnish some of the tips from the porters. Porters formed a union, went on strike. At the end of the strike, they got to keep their tips, and they got their hours reduced to only 84 hours a week.
Still a lot, but
Yeah.
better.
Better. However, fast forward to the 1960s, Civil Rights Movement. This union was the union that bailed Rosa Parks out of jail.
No kidding.
This is the union that formed the Montgomery bus boycott.
Really?
And this union was also the one who was very instrumental in organizing the March on Washington.
Really? Holy cow.
1969, the Pullman Company finally went out of business because of the upgrade of the airline travel and U.S. highway system improvements.
Sure.
Now, as you cross up to this platform, you're crossing history. Teddy Roosevelt gave some of his Boomers Party speeches from that platform.
The same car.
The same car.
No kidding.
That platform. You're going to be walking in Teddy's shoes.
Wow. That's incredible.
Oh, we have that platform down there. If you like, somebody could be Teddy Roosevelt and somebody could get down there and take your picture. Play that. Come on in. It's kind of tight in here. Everybody squeeze in. Again, this was for the wealthy. Yeah, please. Close it. Yeah. The heater's not working. This is Cuban mahogany. You can't buy it anymore. It's obsolete. It's been forested to death. All the glass is in the whole car is Tiffany. All that's Tiffany glass. This was always the last car on the train, so that the rich people could sit here and have a nice 180-degree view. Also, for their additional comfort, all the windows are double. There's all double windows, so they kept down the noise. And you have a 1903 central air. This is stateroom number 1. Stateroom number 1 was used. This is what it looked like during the day. Bench seats, etc. And your luxury bathroom. If you look in the crack in the door, you can see it. As you come around the corner, you'll see stateroom number 2. Stateroom 2 is identical to stateroom 1, except stateroom 2, that's what it looked like at night. Bunks down, curtains up for privacy, and you have your bathroom is under the little velvet cushion in the corner.
Wow.
Now, I said this car could sleep up to 18 people. Where do you put 18 people? In the bunks. These are all bunks. The porter would bring one of your porters bring a little ladder at night. You climb up and into your bunk. This area here in the middle, this was basically the dining area. You put a table in here for your family dining, or if this was a business trip, this is your corporate conference center. These areas here, this little area, they were used for more private dining, card games, intimate conversation,
No kidding.
or if you so wished, you could wear a silly hat and get totally drunk. This is the bathroom number 3. Bathroom 3 is pretty much as what we know it as a bathroom today. This was used by the people who stayed in the dining area. Now, as you come around the corner, you'll notice the luxury ends. No more Tiffany, smoke glass windows. This is the porter's quarters. Porters are required to work 100 hours a week. Notice, one bunk. One was on duty at all times, and they had to share that one bed. This is the other side of the kitchen. This is where we keep the food.
Oh my gosh.
We keep the food in the ice box. They put a 50-pound block of ice in there, and it lasts about 3 days.
Wow.
After 3 days, they'd replenish the ice, the food, and the water for the hot and cold running water system.
Wow. It's like the utility room, pretty much.
Yeah. Do you have any questions?
I do not. I don't. That's
That means I did a good job.
absolutely.
Thank you so
Thank you very
much.
much. Yeah. They're like, oh, you don't have food? We're not interested.